Hey everybody, thank you for checking out A1 Math. And today we're talking about graphic, absolute value functions, and finding the domain and the range. If you remember from the previous lesson, we talked about finding the absolute value by graphing its vertex first. Now in this one, this is really a parent function, but if you plug in the h and the k to find the vertex, it will look something like this, where you have the absolute value of x plus 0 and then plus 0. So the h and the k will be 0, 0, and 0. Okay. Our next step is to graph a t-chart, and I'm gonna pick a couple points. Well, one point to the left, one point to the right of my x, which is 0. I chose -2 and 2. The next thing I do is plug that into my function here, which will be extremely easy. -2 into the absolute value function. It's going to come out to be 2. And positive 2 to the absolute value function is 2 as well. So now I have my 2 points. My first point being -2 and 2. So I go over 2 and up 2. And then my other point is +2, +2. So I go over 2 and up 2. And now I have my 3 points and I can graph my function. Now the last thing I want to do is find the domain and the range. And I'm going to use interval notation. So since as far as I can go in the negative infinity on my x-axis, there'll still be parts of the graph here. So that's going to be negative infinity. And as far as I go right, it's going to still be a graph there. So it's going to be positive infinity. Now, as far as the range is concerned, it only goes down to 0. So on one end, on my low end, it's going to be 0, including 0. But it goes up forever. So my range is going to be from 0 to positive infinity. Okay, let's take a look at another example. Okay, now on this one, we're going to follow the same steps we was doing. We're going to first find the vertex by locating the h and the k. Here you can see that the h is going to be 5, opposite of the negative, and k is going to be 7. And since 5 is my x value, I'm going to pick a couple points. Actually, I want a total of 3 units to the left and 3 units to the right here. And you may pick a different set of points, but make sure you pick something to the left and to the right. It's close enough so you can get um, your point so you can make your absolute value v-shaped function. All right. Now, I've already graphed my point 5, 7. Now I'm going to plug in my value here, 2. Remember, the fraction is on the outside of the absolute value, so you don't want to add that in with the absolute value. And when I work that out, I get 11. Then I plug in 8. And when I work that one out, I get 11. And a lot of times, I get the exact same answer when I plug in the two values. That's because I picked the same amount of units to the left and to the right. Now, if you pick a different amount of units to the left or to the right, then your answer is going to come out different, and it should. But if you pick the same amount, then the answer should come out the same. Now I'm going to go ahead and graph with my new points 211 and 811. Okay, and my last step here is to find the domain and the range. The domain for the x, or the x values for domain, is everything to the left and everything to the right. So as I go as far as infinity, it's infinite because it's going to keep going to the left. And as I go to the right, it keeps going to the right. So my domain is going to be negative infinity to positive infinity. Now my y value is going to be it's going to go as low as positive 5, but high up is infinity. And that's the domain and range. Okay. So just to recap here, we did a couple of absolute values graphs, and then found the domain and range. Remember, your first step is to find the vertex with the H and the K, a graph using a T-chart, and the last step is to find the domain and range. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next time.